You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Glad that you're here with us. It is Tuesday, September the 19th, 2023. Interesting times we're going through right now. The UN is gathering today for a special climate conference, if you will. And we're going to have more on that tomorrow. So, because there'll be news coming out of that, today for tomorrow. And so we'll cover that on tomorrow's show. Today, we got some really exciting stuff to talk to you about. There's the 1 million march for kids, controversial, to say the least. There's two very polarized sides on both ends of this idea of this march that's going ahead tomorrow on September the 20th. Which would be Wednesday. So we'll talk about that. We'll unpack it, maybe why it's so controversial, or maybe try to give a little bit of the two sides of the controversy, right? Which we try to do on the show, despite some people, disagreeing with that and thinking we're a right-wing extremist terrorist organization funded solely by myself and my spare change. So in order to show that we're not that, we're actually going to play some footage from the CBC today, because obviously that's our government-funded, state-run media, and why share videos that are from people from the Toronto Star, Sun Media, when we have the CBC, right, to tell us what's going on with our federal government and try and make sense of things, which isn't very easy to do these days. So, I got this clip from CBC talking about our leader today, the leadership, what's going on. So we'll get to that right after our local news headlines, and then we'll get into the 1 million march and what that's all about. And in a nutshell, it's to do with the sex education program in our schools to our young children, all the way from, pre-kindergarten all the way through, I guess, their whole school experience, even through university. So anyways, but starting very, very young. And I think that's where some people are getting pretty upset. Do they have a reason to get upset? We'll look into that. Is it perfectly normal? Is it progress? Should we be teaching smaller and smaller children more and more about sex education? And if so, why? Why is that important to do? Is that going to help our society in any way, shape, or form? And how is it, if it is going to help our society? Anyways, yeah, so that's what we'll be talking about today. We're live in CKLU 96.7 FM, CKLU.ca, streaming. It's your campus and community radio station, been around since 1984. Broadcasted first from a little trailer on Ramsey Lake Road, and now from the old Telegraph Building and the new MacEwan School of Architecture, all under the guises of Laurentian University. All views and opinions expressed on this show are that of myself, those commenting, any guests on the show, and not necessarily reflecting the views or opinions of anyone at Laurentian University, whether faculty or staff, or anyone who works there, or anyone from CKLU, the station, the volunteers, the board members, the contributors, anyone. And anybody commenting on this show, we will do our best to get them read for the radio and up on the screen for those watching on Facebook Live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube Live at youtube.com/Sudbury News. And we're here to unpack the news, have a conversation about issues that affect us locally and abroad. So let's get right into it. We're going to start off with a little bit of weather. We'll come back with some salutations from Facebook and YouTube, people checking in on the show already, and we'll get started. We got a great show planned, so let's dive right in. We'll be back right after this with your weather. And Sudbury weather brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. There's a frost advisory out today, and not good for my tomatoes, apparently, because I don't think I got the message to my wife in time. I don't think she was listening to the weather portion of the show yesterday when we warned about the frost advisory. Greater Sudbury and vicinity frost may destroy fruit crops, vegetables, and other plants. Temperatures are expected to fall to near 0 degrees Celsius early this morning and in some locales. Cover up plants, especially those in frost-prone areas, which we did not do last night. Take preventative measures to protect frost-sensitive plants and trees. So continue to get updates from Environment Canada. We have Environment Canada updates at Sudbury.news, which was SudburyWeather.ca. It lands on our Sudbury.news webpage. Anyways, currently it's 4 degrees. It's clear. It is, you can expect today to be sunny. Fog patches dissipating early in the morning with a high of 18 degrees Celsius. UV index 5 or moderate. Tonight, clear. Fog patches developing overnight. Low of +2 with patchy frost again. So if for somehow or for some reason or somehow your plants survived last night, you may want to cover them up tonight, as it will be clear. But again, chance of frost with a low of +2 tonight. Wednesday, sunny, fog patches dissipating in the morning. High of 20 though, getting warmer even. So the warm weather is not behind us. There's still some ahead of us, luckily. So Wednesday, sunny and 20. Thursday, sunny and 22. Sunny and 23 on Friday. The next 3 days look pretty incredible. And then Saturday, they're calling for a 30% chance of showers. Sunday as well. And Monday, 22, 21, and 20. So you got anywhere from 20 to 23 throughout the week. Sunny for the next 3 days after today. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, although calling for 30% chance of showers. So that means a 70% chance that there's not going to be showers. This is a satellite view of northern Ontario. Let's just see what it looks like if we refresh the page and see where it lands. If it gives us a September 19th view, which is right there, 4:30 a.m. Very clear, looking nice for the next couple days, 4 days, today, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. So enjoy it if you can. And we'll be back. That's your Sudbury weather brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with news headlines, local and abroad. We'll talk a little bit about a follow-up from yesterday, talking about, is it incompetence or on purpose? What's going on with our federal government? It's been 8 years. They just had a get-together talking about their future and what it looks like. We'll have the CBC. I'll break it down because obviously they're the foremost trusted name in news in Canada. CNN in the States, CBC in Canada. We'll have them and what they are talking about from our fearless leader and his party and the state that they are in Canada. And then we'll do a little bit of a deep dive into the 1 million march. So you can expect all that when we come back, and some salutations, saying some good morning shout outs to all y'all as soon as we come back right after this. And yeah, just for the record, I just want to say how grateful I am for the opportunity to be able to be here every morning with all of you, whether it's on the radio or streaming in audio at cklu.ca, or it's live stream video, Facebook or YouTube. and on our website, Sudbury.news. We are, it's been an incredible journey for the last year and a half doing Sudbury News. 6.5 years or 7 years, going on 7 years of this show, but it started off as a sports talk radio show. And so I just think it's a wonderful opportunity to have a show, first of all, on CKLU. It's our local station, and it's all volunteer run. It runs from support from people like yourself. So if you feel that you have the means to be able to support the not necessarily the show, but the station that allows the show and makes it possible for the show to be on air, you just go to cklu.ca. You can purchase a CKLU mug or shirt or something that supports the station. It shows your support when you wear it, or you're drinking out of your mug or whatever. Also, you can just make a donation there. And if you have an idea for a show, or you're able to volunteer, you got some tech savvy, and you think you can lend your talents with the station and help us with, keeping things running, there's that. But again, an idea for a show, all you do is email gm@cklu.ca. It's you just say, attention, Rob. Hey, Rob, I got an idea for a show, or I'd like to volunteer doing this, that, or the other. Can we set up a meeting and chat? So it's as simple as it is. And you can have your own show. You don't have to live stream it like we do video, but you can have a radio show and turn it into a podcast. Podcasts are all the rage these days, right? So I don't have the time to go and turn this into short clips, which you could do if you really wanted to and you had the time. You can do video, audio, podcasts. You can put it up on all the podcast platforms, your show. It's really a great opportunity, and you don't have to buy all the equipment. You just have to maybe find a software or something to record your show, and after that, have a little bit of savvy to put it up as a podcast. But anyways, there's people that can help you with things like that. Sky's the limit if you have an idea for a show. Anyways, thanks everyone for being with us. I'm just grateful to be here and grateful that you are here with us as well. Denise, good morning from Espanola. First to the party from YouTube. First to the party on Facebook is Judy. Good morning. Thanks for being with us, Monique. Good morning, Sudbury. Sunshine emoji, as well as Maurice with the sunshine emoji. Good morning. Hope you guys are having a great day. Belinda, good morning. If you run out of kind words for yourself, stop talking. If you run out of kind words for yourself, stop talking. Okay, I'm going to have to let that percolate a little bit. And I guess some positive self-talk. It never hurts. And if you aren't able to love yourself, how could you love other people, I would think as well, right? So, Mona, good morning. Thanks for being with us. On Facebook, Belinda as well. Leave the children alone and their innocence intact. Everybody should be fighting to protect the innocence of children. I can't see how you can argue with that statement. It's pretty clear. Today's show is going to be interesting as we talk about that. Probably a disclaimer now. I'll have to repeat it later. There's probably some language that's going to be, I don't know. Is it meant for morning radio? I don't know. It should be actually at the late hours or the wee hours of the morning, because it's going to be talking about sexual type things, because they're talking about the curriculum in our schools, or what the plans are to move the curriculum forward in the future, where it is now. And it's different all over the world, right? So people are at different stages of this curriculum, or different places in it, or teaching it in different ways. But we'll see where it comes from. It comes from the UN's sustainable goals. And the UN is meeting today talking about climate changes as part of their sustainable goals for the future, right? But sexual orientation of children is definitely one of their main things on their agenda. And we'll unpack that. Thanks to Monique for sharing that with me, an article that I'll be utilizing today on today's show, just to shed light on where all this stuff has come from in our schools and why it's so important to teach children as much about sex as they can, as early as they can. I myself, not a fan. Not a fan of that. I think children need to be children. Let them play. And when they get old enough, because there's people like Carl Jung who people like him. He's definitely one of the foremost in his field of understanding children's cognitive development as children when they should be taught certain things. And so people like himself and others, we should be going from smart people who understand that and not just ideological people that weren't elected to make goals for all the countries in the world, I would think, in my opinion, but we'll let you decide as we share some of the facts today on the show. Okay, so coming from, I believe this is Tracy again, so my memory with these handles, but good morning, beautiful people, nice and positive. Thank you very, no, that wasn't Tracy. Tracy's on Facebook. Okay, good morning, happy you're on Facebook today, unless that was you and you've made the switch. Anyways, Danica, good morning, a heart emoji. And Marianne, good morning from Barrie. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being with us. That's not all that far away from Greater Sudbury. I'm sure, so this is Belinda, I'm sure Canada's ranking in reading, writing, and arithmetic is not the high percentage, in the high percentage. Why the sexualization of children is a priority baffles the mind. I have to agree with you on that one, right? So that way we have enough time to get into all this today. And those listening on the radio, I've done some tweaking because from my office here, it's been, the sound hasn't been great. It's because I've been meddling with the dials and stuff, trying to get different videos to play at a higher volume and stuff like that, because I'm the tech guy, the host, the producer, everything, the on-air personality, and the financer, the backer, and pretty much everything here, with a lot of support from really good friends who have helped me start the show and get things running and contribute to the show. But again, it's just my tech savvy, doing things on the fly probably created a problem with the sound. And I hope it's better on the radio now than it has been. People are saying it's all muffled, sounds like I'm in a box. I hope it's better. Anyways, I'm going to check it out later today on the recording. And I'm glad that Michael has checked in here, because I think the first video we're going to be playing is directly for him and a comment he made yesterday. Okay, hearing children from the schoolyard 3 times per day, you can hear how the environment they live in at home isn't so protected from adult conversation. Yes, I would believe that is true for sure. So we should teach them how to, well, we'll get into that later. Yeah. Should teach them how to have sex in kindergarten, right? Because at home, they already hear adult conversations. So I don't see the link there, but I hear what you're saying. I know where you're coming from. Sorry, it's Tracy. Yes, that's what I thought. You have a great mind. I'm currently on both as I connected here first. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Tracy. I kind of figured that. Thank you. I thought that was you. And so just for Michael, who I think made the comment yesterday on yesterday's show that we only play right-wing influenced people on the show, and I'm influenced by these podcasters. But just note to yourself, Michael, I'm not influenced by right-wing podcasters, and I'm not influenced by left-wing podcasters or the CBC or Fox News. I'm influenced by facts that I study, and I allow my brain to critically think, and then I come to a conclusion. But I listen to both. So that might be something that that may be a piece of the puzzle you might be missing out on, is just listening to the both sides and coming to a conclusion for yourself. And so with that, just to prove my point, I'm going to start with a little follow-up on what we were talking about yesterday, but I'll allow the CBC, who I'm pretty critical of, as if you watch the show or listen to it, you know that I'm pretty critical of it, and rightfully so. They get 1.2 billion of our tax dollars every year. And so you'd hope that they would be giving us, news in an unbiased way, right? And doesn't always happen. And experts, the ones that study these things of bias in news, point out they're pretty far on the left side of the political spectrum. They're not unbiased, which they should be, because half their money comes from people who may not believe their ideology, right? So, but it is what it is. But in the spirit of showing that, we're not just playing, even though you can turn the dial right now to 99.9 in Sudbury and listen to CBC, the only place you're going to get any alternate view on the radio would be this little show at a little hour time span, Monday to Friday, is where we're going to try and share an alternate view. And it's the only time. So that's why I'm a little more heavy on sharing the alternate view, because 24/7 we're just, it's like a fire hose of left leaning, because it's been proven by experts that the CBC and other corporate media is left leaning, especially in Canada. And we don't really have alternate views on public platforms like the radio. On the internet, you do. You got to go searching for it on the internet and you can find it. But again, I just wanted to expose people who wouldn't necessarily be drawn to or click on a video and listen to an alternate side of things. But here we have left-leaning CBC talking about Justin Trudeau and the party and saying not many different things than what I've been sharing anyways from my so-called right-leaning news people, right? So let's just, without me explaining it, let's just listen to them and let's see what you think about it as you critically think and think for yourself, and don't be spoon-fed what people just tell you all the time, but really look into things and look into the facts, because that will probably serve you better, I'm thinking, in the long run.
Yes, on the grocery stuff, I actually see in it the signal that this is a government that really, really wants to keep the NDP on side and for this parliament to last. Who is going after grocery prices for the past 6-7 months? It was Jagmeet Singh, to the point where I came late to watching the news conference the Prime Minister gave, and he was in the middle of an envolée on grocery prices, and if it had not been for the accent, I might have thought I was listening to an NDP news conference.
It's preposterous, though. I mean, for the federal government, the leader of the federal government, which oversees an explicit price-fixing ring in the production of major food items like chicken and eggs and butter, to be going after the grocery store executives on the issue of high food prices is just the height of hypocrisy. It's amazing what being at 26% in the polls how it will change your perspective. And yes, keeping the NDP on board and keeping that section of the voting constituency, at least giving the Liberals a chance, is obviously part of the agenda.
Last word.
This is not going to triple the rate of housing construction. It's fantasy land. This is them announcing something so that they have something to announce. Neither of these things is going to make the difference. There's going to have to be a whole lot more policy, and we'll see what comes in the fall. But this is not going to do it.
Should he be concerned about his job? Should he be concerned about that complaining that he's hearing?
I think he got the jolt that he needed. There are a few people who really want to get rid of the Prime Minister. He doesn't maintain his relationship with caucus. He's a people person for like the rest of us, the public watching this, but he is not. He's like an introvert internally, and my colleague Susan Delacour talks about this often. But they're not feeling the love, and they needed to feel the love.
Andrew.
I thought he got off pretty lightly, frankly, considering where they're at in the polls. I think it's a measure of how weak the caucus is in this party, how much it's leader dominated, that even when they are 15 points behind in the polls, they just really don't have much of an alternative.
I think those MPs would feel less of a we still like Justin Trudeau. Well, I think if you do not see an improvement in the polls within 4 to 6 months, the discontent will resurface, and probably resurface in a way that will be difficult to push back on.
There might be some Liberal MPs that might be ready to cross the floor and pluck.
I think 4 to 6 months, if the next budget looks like it's mashed potatoes. A lot of MPs are going to be thinking about whether they want to run for re-election.
And, you know, when you read even the off-the-record comments from these anonymous liberals, most of it is about, well, we need to change communications. We need to, we should be spending government money to promote the party, or we should be attacking Pierre Poilievre more, and not substantive policy shifts in direction, which I think is really what's required.
For sure, the cabinet shuffle earlier this summer shook the confidence of many MPs in the thinking in the PMO. PMO becomes more of an echo chamber than a place where someone speaks truth to power. But it is getting really late in the game for Justin Trudeau, and I suspect that it's part of his comfort zone. Whether that's good for him or not,
I think it would be to the Prime Minister's office's benefit to have people who don't necessarily think exactly like Katie Telford and Ben Chin and all the senior advisors around him. But it's not just the Prime Minister's office. There is a sense from caucus that there's no direction at the party either.
They may not pull through.
One of the overwhelming impressions of the government these days is that it's overwhelmed, that it can't get stuff done, it takes forever to make decisions, it just seems adrift. Well, when you're trying to run absolutely everything through the Prime Minister's office, basically through 3 or 4 people, that's the kind of thing you get.
Yeah, and so I have to, just as people are commenting here, noticing that it's an edited video, it's just editing out anything just to make it a timely video. It's a video I found. I didn't edit the video.
No, I actually
but
think
what
this
they're
is
saying is exactly the same things that we're saying on the show, and it does come from the CBC. But no matter what, I guess if you believe a certain thing, you'll only hear what you want to hear, right? So I don't know how critical any of you are of the current administration. You keep making this is the thing I don't understand about liberals. You keep blaming Pierre Poilievre as if he's the devil. He's not in power. He hasn't been in power. He's only been the leader of the party for a short period of time, and he's not in power. He's the opposition. Your leader has been in power for 8 years, and you still can't criticize anything? You still criticize the other side, as if Harper made it so bad when he was in that. What is Justin Trudeau cleaning up a huge mess? And in what ways is he cleaning up a mess? And in what ways is Canada any better off now than it has been before he took office? Really, honestly. I had the question a few shows ago, and I said, name one thing he's done good. It was really hard. A couple of people came up with a few things. He's added some he's helped out with the water, which a lot of Indigenous communities would disagree with, and that he's added some military overseas. He's added some soldiers in a foreign country. So those are the two things that people were able to come up with. Liberals were able to come up with that he's done good for the country, but yet still defend him as if, how could anyone dare criticize anything he's done? I wake up every day and look at grocery prices, look at gas prices, look at the immigration and housing problem we have right now, the opioid crisis, people dying in our streets 3 times higher than the provincial average just here under our noses, giving away free drugs, teaching people, how to inject or snort, or giving them the kits to do it for free. Things like the world, and then what we're going to be talking about too, teaching sex education to minors in our schools and promoting that. The world I live in now, during this last 8 years, there's been a huge transformation. But I guess that's part of the plan. It's progressive. We're progressing. I would make the argument that we're regressing. And I would say there's many facts that point to that, just simply the ones we're looking to now. What about MAID, medical assistance in dying, where a mother goes to a doctor with her child and says, my child's been thinking of suicide. And the doctor says, well, we could offer this for you so that way it's not messy and do it for you. That's the world we live in now. And that's through our federal government. And then shut down the news on top of it, right? Oh, no, it's to pay the news. So you're going to stand up and continue to stand up for this very incompetent or someone who's trashing Canada on purpose government. I don't understand it. I really don't. I think that kind of thinking needs to be really analyzed by psychologists, because it really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If your parents were doing the same thing to you under your roof, I mean, what would you do? You'd be, I get the heck out of here. You know what I mean? Get out of town, get out of Dodge. If your spouse was doing these things to you, that's it. You know, spending, like, holy cow, there's no discipline whatsoever on our spending in our country. Millions and millions and millions of dollars to a very controversial war that we have really nothing to do with, of your tax money, but yet there's no money for veterans, and we're offering MAID to veterans instead as an option, right? And so I don't know. I really don't understand it. I don't understand whatsoever. I know things will change. Things are going to change in a very drastic way, because the more you're on a race to the bottom, eventually, you know, other than the diehard people that will defend things that are blatantly wrong to the death, because they're just, I don't know, ideologically have to defend it. I don't understand why. You can't see what's going on. You can't speak critically of what's happening just because you're going to vote that way, because I don't know why. And listen to government-sponsored media demonizing anything that has to do with anything other than, you know, what's already happening. You know, MAID is good for you. Being strung out on safe drugs is good for you. Being taught sex in schools at a young age is good for you. Not being able to pay your mortgage is good for you. Like, what the crap? Like, you have to give your head a shake at some point and just say, what the heck am I thinking? You know, because that's the only thing you can do. I don't understand it. I'm sorry that I don't. And I do have a lot of empathy, and I do listen to other people quite a bit, but I still don't understand how people blatantly disregard facts. And you're living in it. You're living in it. You see it every day. Just go downtown. Go downtown and walk around late at night. Have a late at night stroll with your loved one through downtown. And just reminisce to yourself of how great the leadership of the country is doing with how things are going, and just really kind of just take it all in. Okay, so gas leak. Speaking of downtown Sudbury, getting a couple of news stories before we do a little bit of a deep dive. We had a few people wanting to probably derail the show, because that's what happens. But gas leak disrupts downtown Sudbury. A natural gas line was damaged during construction in downtown Sudbury on Monday, prompting street closures. There's a story from CTV talking about protecting young people's privacy online. I don't know why that's so important if they're just what they're doing in the schools is what we're going to get to in a second. But anyways, that's from CTV Northern Ontario, as we're going through the stories that are shared on Sudbury.news. You go to that, and it's a news aggregator of all your local news, comes into one convenient location for you. Former Northerner linked to Cinefest film. That's from Northern Ontario CTV News. Former of South River, talking about Boat People, a Cinefest film he had a hand in creating. Sudbury murder case headed to preliminary hearing. Woman was killed a year ago. We talked about that on previous shows, Sudbury.com. Read all about it. Yeah, there's the downtown one again. Sudbury man joins in beatdown of helpless victim. Jeffrey Salt has a history of violence, including manslaughter. That's from Sudbury.com. Rising food prices prompts more demand for Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels and 18 other community organizations share $1 million in federal funding. Well, hey, if you can't afford food at the grocery stores, let our tax money pay for it for free. So that's good. So this sounds good, right? Like, prices are so bad at the grocery stores. can't afford it. So let's give $1 million to an organization that gives free food delivered to people. Sound a bit like communism to you? If you understand what communism is, you definitely would think that just it's like government funded food for everybody, and they're taking away your own ability to do it on your own. Work hard, keep your nose clean, do your best in life, and you'll succeed. But no, they're not making a playing field like that for people, but they'll support you. They'll buy your food for you. They'll make it impossible for you to do it yourself, but hey, we got your back. How about this living wage? Hey, we'll give you some free money. You just got to take the digital currency, and you got to do everything we tell you to do, but we'll give you a couple grand a month to live on, and we'll pay your groceries for you. We'll get it delivered to your door. You don't have to do anything. Just sit back and do what we say. Pretty much, right? I don't know. That looks like the way things are playing out. I don't know if you see anything different than that. Everybody can look at things in a different perspective. So, okay, police are looking for a girl who's 14, last seen September 15th. That's on SudburyStar.com. You want to look at, check that out and see if you know who this individual is. See if you can help out in her being found. Meet the newest additions to Greater Sudbury Family. That's a Sudbury Star segment that they have where you can see all the latest children being born in Sudbury. And let's see what else we have here. Sudbury. Too big for Science North. Sudbury Farmers Market moving to Elm Place. So those that take part in the Farmers Market, it'll be in the formerly called Rainbow Center, formerly called City Center, now called Elm Place, starting October 21st. The market will open every Saturday from 9 to 2 at the mall. Okay, and so that'll do it for our kind of news headlines of the day. And as promised, we'll be talking about the march that's coming up tomorrow, called the 1 Million March for kids, right? So pretty controversial for many reasons. So I found, just explaining a little bit of what this march is through a little bit of a background first. So the UN, as part of their sustainable goals, quote from the UN and the WHO, so the UN, the United Nations, and the WHO, which would be the World Health Organization, quote, schools must equip children to have sexual partners. This coming right from the United Nations. This evidence report reveals, so there's a report that this particular reporter did on the United Nations goals, sustainable goals, and one of them is to do with children and education. So the evidence in the report reveals how the World Health Organization and United Nations are sexualizing little children in primary education worldwide for the purpose of normalizing pedophilia. So again, I will just say the disclaimer again for people, sensitive sexual information. So we're going to be talking about children and sex education. And so in that, there might be some wording that could be offensive to certain people. Obviously, it's not, according to the UN, offensive to kindergartens, but are to adults somehow. So, but I also just want to disclaim that. So if you're listening and it's offensive to hear that, this particular reporter is saying that the purpose of the UN's goals are to normalize pedophilia. So that's a huge claim, right? So let's see if they can back that up at all. This report consists of nothing but solid evidence with many official documents, videos, books, archives, etc. All PDF documents may be downloaded from the reference section at the end of the report. So this particular reporter doesn't only give the report, but then gives you like a good reporter should, or all reporters should, all their evidence, all their facts, not not certain sources, or most people say, or some people are saying, or there's been a poll. No, these are documents right from the horse's mouth that they share. And I'll see if I can post this afterwards on our Sudbury News Facebook page. It'll probably be flagged and taken down, I'm thinking. But you never know. Little children are sexual beings. This is a quote from the UN. Little children are sexual beings who must have sexual partners and begin with sex as soon as possible. For this reason, kindergartens and elementary school must teach children to develop lust and sexual desire, learn masturbation, build same-sex relationships, use online pornography, and learn different sexual techniques such as oral sex. Well, of course. What else would you want to be teaching children in school? To me, that'd be the first and foremost thing that I'd be thinking of. Like, can't wait for my child who's 4.5, 5 years old to get to school and learn these things. You know, I have a hard time talking about the birds and the bees at home. So at least they'll learn the hard stuff first, and they won't have such a hard problem with it when they get older, right? You know, get it out of the way. Okay. So the thing that I just said is a summary of the official guidelines issued by the World Health Organization and the United Nations. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, as my computer's taken over by my phone. All things Apple. Okay, so here you go. So what was just said, taken from the guidelines issued by the World Health Organization and the United Nations to educational authorities worldwide. So again, like as we talked about the UN coming into our municipal affairs and saying they have certain goals and they want us to adopt those goals, it's coming from the same people, from the same documents, from the same sustainable goals they want by 2030, 2050. And they want you to, it has things to do with climate change, economy, and now here, sexualization of children, right? So these are some of their goals that they've sent to educational authorities worldwide saying this is what the United Nations thinks is really good for your kids, so you should be teaching it. Meanwhile, judicial organizations are issuing statements that sex between little children and adults should be legalized. Well, of course, right? Like, why shouldn't it be legalized? It's happening already. It's natural. People have, what is it called? Minor attractedness, right? It used to be called pedophilia, and now it's called minor attractedness. So, you know, why give them such a hard time? Why not just roll with the punches? We are a progressive society, and if we are going to adopt the Marxist, the Marxist ideology, we really should dispel the nuclear family because it's an enemy to the state. And you can read that in the Marxist Manifesto yourself. The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx, his alias, and his companion who wrote that document. The nuclear family is an enemy to the state. So if we're talking about schools and families, and so families shouldn't be teaching these things, as Michael pointed out, right? Because families, because the kids he hears on the schoolyard are already talking with foul mouths and things, obviously shows parents can't teach them manners. The school has to. So the nuclear family's out. Schools are the new parents. Children belong to the state. That's part of the Communist Manifesto. And there you go. Communism. So it just goes to show that's where we're heading and that's what we're doing. But I digress. Okay, so World Health Organization sent out the statements that, to all the education leaders that this is what they want to have being taught in schools. And to legalize sex between adults and children. Like this is where all this is leading. Can you imagine a society where, yeah, this is my little companion here, 30-year-old and a 6-year-old. Yeah, we're married. That's what they're trying to legalize. These are the people you put your trust and confidence in who are meeting today to talk about how they're going to address you being such a burden on the planet by all of your carbon footprint. Your carbon footprint's damaging the planet so much. They gotta deal with you. You're a problem, right? So that's what they're discussing today. It's an interesting day too if you look at what day it is today. It's actually a pretty important day, astrologically, if you're into that kind of stuff. And that's why they're meeting on this day. They choose certain days like that to meet. But anyways, I digress again. Okay, sex between adults and children should be legalized according to the United Nations, while media outlets and political parties are calling for the acceptance of pedophilia as normal sexual orientation. Yes, as Stephen pointed out yesterday on the show, that it's normal. You're born that way. You can't do anything about it, right? So why fight it? If you're born attracted to minors, then you should be able to live that out and be able to do that. You're born that way. It had nothing to do with anything. And so if we're born this way, why is it so important to teach kids this stuff? If we're already born a certain way, why do you need to educate them on sex? Okay. The World Health Organization and United Nations are now instructing educational authorities worldwide to make sure little children have sexual partners, equipping children to have sexual partners. The United Nations has issued a document, International Technical Guidance, Sexual Education. It is the official guideline for elementary schools around the world. The goal of this document is described on page 16. Right? So understanding comprehensive sexuality education. Again, so every country is going to take this document and they're going to do it in their own, like they're going to say, okay, well, maybe this is a little too extreme. We'll do this, but maybe not that. But the UN is pushing this on all educators worldwide, not just in certain countries. Okay. It makes them want to equip children and, yeah, okay, we'll just continue on because there's so much here. These skills can help children form relationships with sexual partners. So they want to teach them the skills that will help them form relationships with sexual partners. These skills can help children and young people form respectful and healthy relationships with family members, peers, friends, and romantic or sexual partners. On page 71, educators are instructed to teach little kids from the age of 5 about kissing, hugging, touching, and sexual behaviors. 9-year-old children are to be taught about masturbation, sexual attraction, and sexual stimulation. So again, all of it is here. This is all from the UN's report or documents to educators, and you can read all about it. Teaching little kids to have sex. So the agenda, ensure that little children have sexual partners, is being further developed by the World Health Organization. Their document, quote, Standards for Sexuality Education in Europe, contains the following instructions for kindergartners and elementary schools. 1. Children between 0 and 4 must learn about masturbation and develop an interest in their own and others' bodies. Well, of course, between 0 and 4, that's what you got to be learning about, right? Sarcasm. 2. Children between 4 and 6 years must learn about masturbation and be encouraged to express their sexual needs and wishes. Between 4 and 6. Now, think first of all of anyone you know at these ages in your family. And these people in the UN are telling educators this is what those people need to be learning about. The people I would hope that you care about. I would hope that you have feelings that you'd want to protect these youngsters against things like this. I would hope that's your default. Not, wow, yeah, finally they can learn about these things. Wow, it's too bad I didn't get a chance to learn about these things when I was 3, you know. Finally, the world's progressing so well. I mean, wow, I can't believe how great things are going. Children between 6 and 9 years must learn about sexual intercourse. 6 and 9. Online pornography having a secret love, and self-stimulation. That's between the ages of 6 and 9. So grade 1 to grade 4. Grade 1 to grade 4, you need to be learning about sexual intercourse, online pornography, having a secret love, and self-stimulation. So years 9 to 12, to round out your elementary school experience, children between 9 and 12 should have their first sexual experience and learn to use online pornography from the UN. The people that are meeting today talking about how they're going to affect your life to save the planet. Kind of a planet are they saving if this are the kind of things they're discussing, talking about? Now, there's a march going on called the 1 Million March, organized by people that are frightened by this kind of thing. Not everyone on this show listening to this is frightened by this. Some people are applauding it. They think this is great. And you're welcome in a free country to think that way. But in a communist country where we're going, I wouldn't be okay to think this is wrong. Right? Because if the state sponsors it and I speak against the state, in a communist country, you're not allowed to say things against it. But in a free country, you can be communist. See how great it is? You should actually be hoping this country stays free and doesn't continue to progress into the regression of communism, because then you can still be communist. But everyone else can't be. And you wouldn't be able to have great discussions like this. Hearing things that people you disagree with, even though it's blatantly self-evident that these things are wrong and evil, somehow we find ourselves supporting them. As long as the people that we have to support are going along with it, and the news tells us it's okay, we got to do it. It's politically correct, right? Like progression. 0 to 4 years old must learn about masturbation in their own bodies. 4 to 6 years old must learn about masturbation and encouraged to express their sexual needs and wishes. 6 to 9 years old must learn about sexual intercourse, online pornography, having a secret love. A secret love. I wonder why that word secret love is so important. Because if it's not secret, as if you're going to come right out and say, yeah, mom, dad, or whoever, yeah, I have a 30-year-old lover when you're 7 years old. Yeah, go tell everybody you have that and see what happens. Okay, children between 9 and 12 should have their first sexual experience and learn to use online pornography. Now, as an adult, we might joke a lot, right? Oh, where do you get your pornography? Oh, we make jokes. Oh, my wife caught me, or, oh, what app do you have? We make fun of it, that it's actually the most searched out thing on Google is pornography. It's rampant in our world. Pornography is an epidemic. So many people are addicted to it. And it's done so much harm to people. It's like saying smoking is good for you. Being an alcoholic is fine. Well, now we're saying drug addicts is fine. Let's just continually feed them drugs all their life. It's fine. It's good. Don't tell them it's bad. You don't want to stigmatize people. Minor attractiveness, it's just the way you were born. It's okay. Try telling that to someone who was molested as a child. Like, this is real stuff. Give your head a shake. Now, Justin Trudeau started a website some time back. I have to find it here. I'm not sure why. I can't get it really quick, but yeah, I had it, and it's here. Is it here? There it is. Got it. Antihate.ca. Sounds great, right? Anti-hate. Who wants to hate? Nobody wants to hate. Let's not hate, okay? Antihate.ca. Sounds great. But this is what antihate.ca is talking about. This was started from Justin Trudeau. He's worried about people hating on this. So there's a march, right? So they want you to know that there's an angry protesters going to be protesting this stuff from the UN. We got to be very afraid of them. They're fringe. They're extremists thinking that it's wrong to tell a 7-year-old to have a secret sexual partner. For goodness sakes, what's wrong with that? Important context about the 1 million March for Children. Numerous demonstrations are planned to occur under the 1 million March for Children banner at legislatures, city halls, and school board offices across the country. When? Tomorrow, September 20th. These demonstrations seek to eliminate sexual orientations of and gender identity curriculum and policies from Canadian schools. Here's what we know so far. These protests are supported by a big tent of far-right and conspiratorial groups, including Christian nationalists, those dangerous Christians, COVID-19 conspiracy theorists, sovereign Canadians, wonder where that came from, and anti-public education activists. Anti-public education activists. There are at least 2 brands involved in the planned events for September 20th. Hands Off Our Kids and Family Freedom are organizing under the hashtag 1 million March for Children. There is a significant amount of internal conflict and confusion within the social media groups of each brand. The primary source of this conflict is over religiosity and public messaging. Hands Off Our Kids is run by conservative Muslim activists who have made explicit anti-gay and LGBTQ plus statements. Family Freedom is more secular and claims to accept 2S LGBTQ plus persons as part of their demonstration. The degree of local organization or local organizing varies widely. Some of the protest locations seem to only have a poster created by one of the national organizers with no obvious local buy-in. Other locations have march routes, event sponsors, and local contact names. Some planned protests appear to be supported by both brands, but others appear to only be organized and supported by one of the two. In some cases, protests seem to be planned for 2 separate locations within a city at the same time. Local activists can and should prepare to counter-demonstrate. So here's the call by them. You should go out and counter-demonstrate and show your support for sexualizing children in school according to the UN's sustainable goals for us as global citizens. Find out what is happening in your city and in the region on the 20th and make plans with local community partners, including unions and community solidarity groups, organizations, or community solidarity organizations, the communist organizations, basically. Check out Pride Defense Guide for safety tips and ideas from these dangerous Christians. I added the dangerous Christians myself. So there you have it. So if you want to counter protest, find out where these protests are going on from these very extremist people who are against teaching 7-year-olds to have a secret sexual partner and learn about getting online and taking in pornography, learning to touch themselves, all these things. So I appreciate you guys today being able to get through all this stuff. It makes me want to puke. I really do feel like I got to puke now. Now I got to go to work. But anyways, it is what it is. There's a march going on tomorrow. If you want to get involved, look it up and find out where it's going on in your community. Either you want to protest it or you want to anti-protest it. If you're for sexualization of children, go against the protesters. If you're not for it, get out and show your support for, not sexualizing our children. I'm going to try and get this document up on Sudbury.News' Facebook page so you can see it, read it for yourself. And if you want to, you're an advocate for it and you want this to happen, you'll be really excited to read their plans for your future. But if you're not, you may want to get involved and try to put an end to it before it gets to those you love in a way that is not so much in a way that you'd want something to get to someone you love. That's the show for today. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Thanks for all your comments. I did my best to get them all up on the screen and share those for everyone. And we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great Tuesday, everyone. Ciao.
is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.